There's a couple things in the movie that's changed, I think, just to make our main characters just seem a little softer. They wouldn't do that. They would just rush in after and save her, even though it was innocent in the book, and they totally could have left it in.
You can picture Ron's face. I don't know, for me, it's specifically Ron when they hear Hermione cry out in the bathroom in the book, and obviously they don't say it, but they both have that fuck moment. Yeah. And Ron's face would just be priceless to me.
Right, I feel like it kind of humanizes them a little bit too, like, oh, they made a mistake, like, they have to go save her now from their mistake. And the other thing about this scene is something that we're talking about kind of a lot in this episode, is what the BuzzFeed article is talking about. In this scene, Hermione is like, swish and flick, and she's telling Ron what to do, but in the book, she doesn't have to do that shit because Ron has it figured out. Just another example of them giving Ron the shaft.
Yeah, in the book, he kind of, like, learns his lesson. She's annoying as fuck, but she's giving him good information, and he ends up listening to it and using it. And so you're like, oh, good on you, Ron. You were paying attention to your friend. You weren't being a total brainless asshole. And no, in the movie, you're right. They totally take that away from Ron. He has to be reminded and shown what to do because he's not as smart as Hermione.
Yeah.
But if Hermione had kept her cool enough to be coaching Ron, why didn't she just do it then?
Right? Save yourself, damsel in distress. Figure it out.
Oh, yeah, no. She totally could have done that spell herself in the movie. In the book, I think the troll was too close and was, like, attacking her and fighting with the boys. And there was just... she couldn't have.
Also, I think it was kind of pointless that Quirrell... This is kind of spoilery, but I am assuming whoever's listening has watched the movie now with us. You should have watched with us. But the way that Quirrell does the little, like, thing with the troll, because he's scared of the troll because it makes a noise. He's not supposed to be scared of trolls.
Oh, right. Yeah, he jumps in the movie.
Yeah.
Really fucking bad after they knock it out.
Also, something from earlier. Sorry, I know we're not supposed to go back, but he definitely did not shake Harry's hand in the movie.
No contact.
It was something I noticed that I was like, oh, okay. So in the book he did, in the movie he didn't. Still a little confusing, but it was just a fact I noted. Now we can talk about Quidditch if you want.
I do want to talk about Quidditch. I feel like the Quidditch went really quick. I felt like the game could have been maybe a little longer. I'm trying to figure out the right word here. It's just something wasn't right about the scene, just as a whole.
I kind of feel like they did what Michael Bay does to movies. They give you a lot of extra detail in the book while the game is being played, what's happening, shit that's going on around the game itself with our people, you know, our heroes. Hagrid's hanging out with Hermione and Neville is there, and Ron is there, together watching Harry play. In the movie, they kind of start the game. Madam Hooch comes out and is like, I want a good, clean game. Nobody be fucking around. Releases the balls. And then you just see him zooming all around for the next 5 minutes. I think that's what it is. You don't get any real context of what's happening in the game.
There was definitely a few things that I noted. One, Madam Hooch's look. It was pretty good for me. Not necessarily that it was spot on to the book, but I just liked the look of the character. I like the way they brought her look to the movie. One thing that bugged me, Lee Jordan did not get the quality mic time that he deserved in the movie that he did in the book.
And I think maybe that's what's missing, is that he kind of framed the Quidditch matches for you. So without his commentary, it's just people flying around on brooms. There's no funny little quips about who has the ball, and you don't get any context of who the characters are that are playing with Harry. It's just Harry riding around with other characters on broomsticks.
Yeah, they show you the score, and he comments here and there, but he's not funny either. He doesn't get any credit for being fucking hilarious when he's on that mic. And it's just, it's missing a lot.
For some reason, the Quidditch pitch also was strange for me. Like, the hoops were right. Like, that was exactly how I pictured it. But for some reason, like, the stands were really weird to me. What I remembered from the first time I saw it, even till now, I don't know what I want them to look like, but it's not that. Like, I think I thought that they were either on the ground or they were floating. One or the other, but not, like, suspended stands way up in the air. Like, where you have to walk up a million steps to get there.
That's kind of how I pictured it. A big, giant bowl. Because why would you have one, like, if they're 100 feet in the air, say, why would you have one single tower that's only, like, 10 feet wide be what 15 people are sitting on when, if the whole school is planning on attending, surround the pitch, I guess. I don't understand why they would have chosen to portray him that way in the movie. It didn't seem very practical.
Yeah.
Looks cool as fuck. You know, I'll give him that. It looks awesome, but...
I think the final thing with this scene, we missed the fight. The fight doesn't exist. It's non-existent in the movie. There's no fight between Ron and Malfoy and Neville and the other kid that I'm blanking on, but there's another one in there, maybe.
You talking about Crabbe and Goyle?
Oh, yeah, them. There we go. Sure. Once again, I feel like it's Neville. You know how I have my feels about him. Getting slighted. He totally punched Malfoy, and they just cut it right out.
Right. One of his badass moments from the whole... He has actually quite a few throughout the book, and they just take them all right away from him.
It's just wrong. It's just wrong.
And the way that Harry catches his snitch is wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely way more dramatic in the movie. Like, pretty cool. I give it that. Cool way to do it, but it just wasn't the way it was done.
I mean, even the way it was done, I think that we were all confused about whether or not he was intentional or not. So I think they could have left it the way it was.
Right. And in the book, it's also more of a freestyle drop.
Right.
He goes straight down. That was the whole reason McGonagall chose him to be the Seeker, because he would dive. And they do show that once in the movie when it's him and Marcus Flint. I remember that from the Harry Potter trivia episodes. Are both diving for the snitch, and Marcus Flint pulls up first. And Harry waits until the absolute last second. That was pretty intense. But when he wins the game, instead of diving for it then and getting it by, swallowing it or having it get caught in his mouth, in the movie, he's kind of like at an angle and ends up catching up with it. So it's just sitting there, and then for no reason whatsoever decides to stand up on his broom, because that's the thing. Wait, you what?
That's how much control he has.
He's
a badass.
He just turned into Steven Seagal, and he's like, no, I'm going to make this even more hard. And then fail, because he hits the ground during the stunt and does a tuck and roll, and then ends up swallowing the ball. So it's very clearly on accident. It in no way was skill that he caught the snitch. Which I was the point I made in the episode we spoke about this game. It kind of robs Harry of the satisfaction. Like, he wins and everybody calls him a hero, so maybe not. But for me, I didn't really do that. It just kind of happened to me. Might take away from it a little bit.
Yeah. So we're going to head to a break real quick, and we'll catch you when we're back. And we're back.
I think once we get past the scene with Quidditch, I feel like there was a lot at this point that they just cut. I feel like there was a few things that happened in the book after this point that is non-existent. He's by himself. We've talked about this. He's always wandering off by himself. He was down where they keep the brooms. We don't see that. Editing for the time allotted. They say that a lot on TV when they play movies.
I don't care.
I know. I would have watched it all.
In the book, we have a lot of Norbert for a couple chapters. We have that beautiful chapter that I can't say very well. And that's all chippity chopped out. You get to see Norbert. He's born, but then somehow he just disappears after Malfoy sees them, and everyone's in the Forbidden Forest for detention. And that was, I don't know, really sad to me, the way that they chopped all that up.
That was so much quality right there. And they just kiboshed the whole thing. It was wrong.
I did like they made a point to keep it in, but without the other context from the chapters, yeah, it kind of loses the value. Like, oh, hey, it's a dragon. Oh, the dragon's gone now. Okay, whatever. We were doing some other shit anyways, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But what I thought was fucking hilarious is instead of biting Hagrid, and he's all like, oh, he knows his mummy, it, like, sneezes fire. And it does say that in the book, but it gets his beard. He tries to pat it out, but it keeps burning as he's talking to him. And I just thought it was funny. He's like, fuck it, it'll be fine. My beard's on fire, no big deal. Went back to being super casual without putting it all the way out. That would have my attention for damn sure. Before I started talking to some kids about some shit that wasn't their business.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the thing. They do have a little bit of a conversation with Hagrid about some stuff they shouldn't at that point, but they've already cut a couple of those conversations out of the movie. And so the kids finally find out about Nicholas Flamel here, but it's kind of sloppy. Like, the whole thing's kind of sloppy. Hold on. First of all, Hagrid mentions that Norbert goes to stay in Romania with other dragons, and we are told earlier in the movie that Ron's brother lives in Romania, and it's super weird to me that he's not like, oh, don't worry, Hagrid, I'll, owl my brother and tell him to keep an eye out for Norbert. Like, I get that they cut his brother's friends out of the movie, but it's weird that they don't even, like, throw one line in there to connect it when they made the effort to mention him in the movie at all.
Yeah, in the beginning they mentioned him, and then at this part they cut him out. When it would be just as easy to leave that line in, like you're saying. I totally agree. Otherwise, they could have cut the first mention of Ron's brother out entirely, and you never would have missed it. They're like, oh, details. He has all these brothers, which is a major plot point in the story.
Yeah.
So maybe fucking leave it in, guys.
Yeah. And, yeah, my other point was just that, Hagrid gets cut a lot in this movie. Some of his like, heart-to-hearts with the kids that he shouldn't be having get chopped down a whole lot. So, all of a sudden, they find out about Nicholas Flamel, and you're like, oh, okay. That information is just out now. Whereas in the book, it took a lot longer for Hagrid to reveal that specific information. They had to work him over quite a bit before he finally said it.
And once he does say it in the movie, it's much more of a, oh, well,
yeah.
I just spilt top secret information. It's a joke. And a couple of times, pretty rapid fire in the movie, he's like, I should not have said that. Yeah. I should not have said that. And he just kind of shakes his head. He's like, oh.
Basically letting them know that that's the thing you need to know.
Right. Oops. Pay attention, viewers.
Which leads to, before they go to the Forbidden Forest, because I'm not really sure in my brain how all this stuff fits in order, but they find out about Nicholas Flamel, and in the movie, without the deleted scenes, Hermione just pulls out a book randomly and is like, I should have known. Here it is. But there is a deleted scene that should have been left in that is exactly the way the movie or the book portrays it, where Harry finds